everyone, and welcome on back to my channel. Today we are continuing with my Archaeologist's Guide to Minecraft. Last time we found this village. It has a leather worker. I'm so happy. It's also got some other people. We're gonna explore it today because villages are amazing. I wanna know what they have, what kind of relationship we can form with this village, what sort of things we can start to get from here. As we set up camp on the outside of this village, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is what it is to be an outsider. Remember that we ourselves are outsiders to this village. This is not our village, it is the villagers' village. So as an outsider, one of the things that we have to be really careful of is how we approach this village. Now, in history, in archaeology, we have a tendency to think that when two groups from different cultures interact with each other, usually the result is some form of hostility, like some kind of war or battle or conflict or something. And one of the reasons that we tend to think that is because that's the thing that gets talked about, that's the thing that gets remembered, because it's a big deal. But it's a pretty common misconception that when two groups from different cultures meet for the first time, there's automatically hostility. Usually, if you are an outsider approaching a group, the group is more likely to be wary of you and what you're going to do. They're going to want to watch how you interact both with them and their environment and their belongings, and then they're going to make a decision about how they feel about you. Now, absolutely, there are many instances where various groups are automatically hostile towards outsiders. That definitely happens, and depending on the group, there are a lot of different reasons for that. But most of the time, groups tend to be wary of outsiders, but generally kind of hopefully accepting of outsiders, in part because outsiders bring things like trade. I might have resources in my forest, for example, that this village doesn't have access to here. And we already know that they have access to materials here that I don't have access to in my forest. So if we can come together and find things that we can trade, that's a win-win for both the village and myself. So how do we approach this group as an outsider? Well, as I said before, usually the default attitude of local groups towards outsiders is wary and observant, not necessarily hostile. So basically, don't do anything to annoy people, and you're probably gonna be okay. That sounds really easy, but it isn't always, because this village potentially has a different culture and therefore a different set of rules of what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable to the culture that I or my character grew up in. So there may be things that I do that would be perfectly fine in my culture, but are really bad to do in this village. So how do we approach this village with the highest possibility of being at least accepted as maybe a trading partner? Because that's what our goal is ultimately. We want to be able to trade with this village. The first thing to do is accept the fact that you are an outsider. Many of the world's conflicts only ever happened because a group of outsiders refused to acknowledge that they were outsiders. So we want to start by acknowledging that we are the outsiders. The second thing we want to do is approach this village in as friendly a way as possible. And we're gonna do that by taking my shield off and by not holding my axe in my hand. I am going to keep my leather armor on just because there are caves and a ravine, so there could be monsters, but what I will do is take off my helmet so that they can see my face when we interact. The next thing to do is to respect the locals. We want them to be assured that interacting with us is a safe thing to do. We're not going to go in and take things out of their houses. We're not going to dismantle their houses. We're not going to just harvest their crops. We're going to respect these villagers and the lives that they have created, the village that they have created, because this is theirs. It's not ours. So the more we respect it, the better off we'll be. And then the next thing we're going to do, because we want to trade with them, we are going to bring things that they want. That could be food, it could be resources from our forest, it could be offering to work for some resources, so harvesting the fields or something, or it could be something like maybe lighting up all of the caves around this village so that things like creepers or zombies or skeletons don't end up attacking the village, and villagers who wander into those caves maybe don't end up as zombies themselves. In this case, because villagers are always friendly, this is gonna go well for us. But in a real life situation, if you do all of those things, doing your best to respect the locals, their property, their customs, their beliefs, there's a much better chance that the local group will say, hey, you're actually not that bad. You can come sit with us, or you can trade with us. So we haven't been run out of town largely due to very intentional game design. So let's take some time to now explore this village. Okay, so we have our leather worker here. Thank you very much. Thank you for the boots. We also have a market over here. Now these markets don't actually do much. They're purely for decoration, but the bell here is somewhere where villagers gather in the evenings. And actually, you might see that happening, well, you see that happening just about now, where we've got people gathering around the bell. We have a toolsmith here, so somebody who can provide us at the moment with stone axes, if we can find some emeralds, or if we trade some of our coal with them to get an axe. But as you trade, you will level up with your villagers and they will offer you better and better goods because they've gotten to know you better and you've given them better business. So that's what we want eventually. We also have children in this village, so you can see there's a young villager here. They will eventually grow up and be able to take on a job if one is available. This is a bigger house that has a chest, and it has some crops that we haven't gotten before. Now, I'm not so interested in the bread, the feathers, the apples, or the saplings. The saplings are interesting to a degree, but I do like keeping our spruce forest a spruce forest, so I think we can find oak wood in other ways if we want to. But these potatoes would be really useful, so I would like to work towards getting access to at least one of those potatoes. There's some wheat crops here. Again, I'm not gonna pick them just yet. I'm gonna leave that for the villagers. We do also have some horses here that the village has, so that might be something. It might be worth, if I can find a saddle, it might be worth taming one of these horses eventually. That would be really cool. So this isn't a very large village. We have what looks like 4 houses, and then we have a toolsmith just here, and we've got our leather worker over here with all of the cauldrons. Now, I am very interested in starting to trade with these folks. Some potatoes to add to our farm would be really nice, and some better tools would be fantastic. So next episode, we'll talk all about trade and exchange and hopefully build up our relationship with this village a bit better. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and hit that notification bell to get an alert each time I upload a new episode. That's all from me for today. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!